Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Edelstein here with another installment of Rabbi E in 3, brought to you by MEOR, Washington, D.C. MEORDC.com is our website. Have a look and learn about the programs we offer around Washington. I remember the first time I was traveling in the land of Israel many, many years ago, I came across a quite striking sight. Down around the Dead Sea region, it's still there what I'm about to describe, I think. Around the Dead Sea region, there's an intersection on the highway, and there are two travel signs pointing in opposite directions. One sign pointing this way says Sodom, and the other sign pointing the other way says Jerusalem. You follow that road and you're heading towards the remains of the ancient city of Sodom or Sodom. You head the other direction, you're heading towards Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Sodom, Jerusalem. That sums up in a certain way our spiritual challenge, or one way of articulating our spiritual challenge in this world. Are we going to be people who are heading towards Sodom, meaning in following the ideals and values of Sodom, or are we going to be people who are heading in the direction of the values and ideals of Jerusalem? Now, what was Sodom? Well, in this week's Torah portion, I should say, Vayera, Sodom and Gomorrah are destroyed. God wreaks destruction on these two cities. What was their sin? They did many, many sins. We know the word Sodom has a certain word in English related to it, but our rabbis and sages say the main sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was their cruelty, their utter lack of the spirit of charity. Giving charity, tzedakah, was a capital crime in Sodom. They were fabulously wealthy cities, but no one was to share with their wealth. No one was to benefit from it at all. No one less fortunate could benefit from it. Our rabbis say a fascinating thing. Their lifestyle was the extreme example of the philosophy of what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. At first, that sounds harmless, innocuous, but it leads to a state where a person doesn't want to do anything of benefit to their fellow man and only be left to the enjoyment of their own wealth and their own pleasure. That's the antithesis of Jerusalem, the center of the temple where Jews and Gentiles went to be inspired by a feeling of closeness to God like nowhere else on earth, to be inspired to walk in God's ways of tzedakah and mishpat, charity, justice, chesed, loving kindness. Sodom, selfishness, materialism. Jerusalem, the opposite, holiness and righteousness and chesed and loving kindness. Well, those people of Sodom and Gomorrah, they lost out. They made the wrong choice. Now, Abram, our patriarch, actually, he was the epitome of kindness and of the antithesis of Sodom. He prayed on their behalf. He asked God to have mercy on them if God could find any righteous people in those cities. He couldn't. They made the wrong choice. We have a choice. Do we want to be givers in this world or takers? Do we want to be a source of blessing or as spiritually dead as the Dead Sea is now in a physical sense? Sodom or Jerusalem? The choice is ours. Good Shabbos.